What did Jesus foretell about the city of Jerusalem as he approached it riding on the colt? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Luke on Walking Through the Bible.
The glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Luke chapter 19. We're going to be reading from verses 41 to 48. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Luke chapter 19, beginning at verse 41. Now as he drew near, he saw the city and wept over it, saying, If you had known, even you, especially in this your day, the things that make for your peace. But now they are hidden from your eyes. For days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment around you, surround you and close you in on every side, and level you and your children within you to the ground. And they will not leave in you one stone upon another, because you did not know the time of your visitation. Then he went into the temple and began to drive out those who bought and sold in it, saying to them, It is written, My house is a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And he was teaching daily in the temple. But the chief priests, the scribes, and the leaders of the people sought to destroy him, and were unable to do anything, for all the people were very attentive to hear him. The day is now Sunday before the Passover, the week that Jesus would be killed. Come the next Sunday at this time, there would be confusion among Jesus' disciples in trying to understand what the empty tomb meant, with some reporting having seen Jesus risen from the dead. Beginning in verse 28, Jesus is riding towards Jerusalem on the back of a colt. The people are praising God and proclaiming that Jesus is the Messiah prophesied in the Old Testament. Now there were Pharisees in the multitude who asked Jesus to rebuke his disciples for saying this, a request that Jesus refused, saying that if he did so, the rocks would miraculously cry out what they were saying. Jesus was the Messiah, and people needed to know that. Looking at the photo now, this is what a modern view of Jerusalem that you would see if you made the journey that Jesus made. Now Jesus wouldn't have seen the paved roads, the modern buildings, or the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but he would have seen a city that was walled. Once you came down the Mount of Olives, you still had to climb up again, as Jerusalem and the temple are built on Mount Zion and Mount Moriah, respectively. Drawing near the city, Jesus wept over Jerusalem. Why would he do this? Because he knew that what laid ahead for the city due to the rejection of him as the Messiah. If Jerusalem and the Jews as a whole had obeyed Jesus, they would have been able to live peacefully in the land, just as God had always promised them. Remember, it was only because of disobedience that God removed them from the land that he promised them. If they obeyed him, which in this case meant obeying his son Jesus, then he would be with them and nobody could destroy them, no matter how powerful their enemies were. In reality, the Jews had every advantage. They had the Old Testament to refer to know about the Messiah. They were looking for him. But alas, they were blinded by their misconceptions about who the Messiah would be and what he would do. So they didn't obey Jesus. And because of that, peace wouldn't prevail. The city would be destroyed. The picture Luke gives here in Luke 19 is so correct that skeptics have come along and tried to say that Luke wrote his book after the events that Jesus foretells here. They do so with no evidence, but with the bias that they don't believe in prophecy. The Old Testament was in existence in Jesus' day and correctly prophesied about Jesus' life and death, so believers should not be amazed that Luke, which evidence shows was written before 70 A.D., could be able to so accurately describe the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 A.D. And in that year, the Roman armies did surround Jerusalem and besiege it. The city was leveled, the temple destroyed, and thousands of people who didn't leave were killed. Not one stone was left upon another when it came to the temple, which is the exact opposite of what Haggai said about the construction of the temple in Haggai 2:15, which says, And now carefully consider from this day forward, from before stone was laid upon stone in the temple of the Lord. Such imagery is quite stunning. Coming to verse 45, we now have Jesus cleansing the temple. Again, Luke makes it appear that this happened right after Jesus entered the city, but Mark makes it clear that this actually happened on Monday, the day after Jesus triumphantly entered Jerusalem. What caused Jesus to cleanse the temple was that he saw what was going on there. Commerce. Was it wrong for people to exchange money or to sell animals for the sacrifices? No, for Deuteronomy 14:24-26 would teach us that the buying of animals or other things in order to fulfill the Lord's commands under the law was not wrong. Then what was Jesus' problem here? They were using the temple, the house of God, and a place of prayer as a place to conduct business. There was nothing wrong with the activity. What was wrong was where they chose to conduct the activity. They could have set up these places outside the temple grounds and been completely fine. But since they turned the house of God into a den of thieves, Jesus overturned the tables and quoted for them Jeremiah 7 verse 11 while he did so. The question then arises, did Jesus sin by getting angry and casting out the money changers? In asking this question, I feel that people misunderstand anger and its relation to sin. Being angry in and of itself is not sin. In Ephesians 4:26, Paul writes, "Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down upon your wrath." The problem with anger is when we're angry without a cause, we let our anger to get out of control, or we don't let go of our anger, which leads to all sorts of other sins, such as hatred. Jesus was in full control here. He had a reason to be angry, which was that the Jews had perverted the use of the temple. And Jesus did not allow himself to hold on to his anger. When the event was over and the situation rectified, he wasn't angry anymore. So no, Jesus did not sin here. Luke concludes the chapter by telling us that Jesus preached daily in the temple, with some of those teachings being covered in the upcoming chapters. Now the chief priests, scribes, and leaders wanted to kill Jesus because of these teachings, but couldn't because the people were wanting to hear Jesus. That is why later in the week, they would arrest Jesus at night when he was away from the crowds. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Luke chapter 20, verses 1 to 8, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.
Of his cross.